like in books. Like recently I've just gotten a PS4. So, I mean, I've always played games, but I've never myself owned a console. Especially
Congratulations,
since I
that is
left.
huge.
Yes. So especially since I left home and stuff like that, and I've always like been moving like once a year. So I finally got one during COVID. I was like, what am I doing? I can't read anymore. Like we can talk about that later. But yeah, so I got my first PS4 and I've just been gaming like mad and you know, tweeting about it. So that's
What's your favorite so far?
my favorite, absolute favorite game. Actually, my favorite series is The Last of Us. And recently, The Last of Us 2 just came out in June, I believe. And it's just blows me away. The type of narrative storytelling that you can get in this gameplay. And I guess it's maybe because I haven't been playing games for so long, other than like The Sims on my PC. But I just felt this game made me cry, and it made me laugh, and it made me really think about like who I am as a person and the type of choices that I make when interacting with other people, or trying to satisfy like real deep inner questions and stuff. Like, it's just such an amazing game. So
So you, I'm assuming, finished it and are getting ready to play it in New Game Plus mode or whatever.
yes, how'd you know? I finished it probably because of work. I had to work. It was like my gift to myself at the end of a business day. I think I finished it within like 72 hours.
Oh wow!
It's probably still really quick. But
No, I had to stay off social media for a couple of weeks until I finally finished the thing.
yes, it's just so many things to talk about, and they did something that is really unexpected, I feel like, for games. Or I guess it's probably still too soon for a spoiler, but a lot of people were really upset at the narrative decisions in the game, but I think that's kind of what makes it interesting.
Well,
And
I would posit that here we are, it's August 13th that we're recording this. I would say that the real fans have already played it and are eager to hear your take on it. And folks that are just casual or not really interested in playing it don't care about the spoilers. So I tell you what, for the next 3 to 5 minutes, we will talk brief spoilers about The Last of Us Part 2, and then we'll talk books, and we'll talk being a literary agent and a park ranger and all kinds of fun stuff. So proceed with the spoilers.
okay, cool. So I think it's really brave of a game to say that we played the first game, The Last of Us, as Joel, and in the second one he dies within like the first 30 to 45 minutes of gameplay.
Almost checked my controller through my screen. Yes.
Yes, and he was killed, and it's really interesting to me. I think it's really great because as like readers and as an audience of games and stuff like this type of storytelling, we are, even if we don't know too much about the ins and outs of crafts and formulas, we still are subconsciously used to a certain narrative, so we don't expect our heroes to die. And I think a lot of the more, I mean, of course, and the way that a story can make you feel is how it makes you feel. And if that's, I'm not going to try to like talk you out of it, but I think the point of it is that yes, you feel things. And I just think it was really brave of them to tell the story in a way that's like, you're going to turn off so many people from even finishing the game. The same way in stories, in a trilogy series, is, when you don't expect like a character of yours to die, and it's just like, well, what do I do now? It was like my favorite character, and it's just like all about kind of examining the ways that we attach ourselves to characters, and based on their personality or their role in the story. What made Joel a hero? Only the fact that we were playing him, right? And I think then focusing it also on two women or two girls as the gameplay in The Last of Us 2, I think was also just such a relief to me, especially two girls that weren't, that you can't physically code as feminine too. I felt like it was very relieving as a female gamer. Particularly in the fact that Ellie is a queer girl, and she gets to have her queer love story on screen. and it's not overly fetishized. And in the same way, without going into
Technically, a second queer love story for those of us
oh.
that hung around for the DLC for Last of Us Part
Oh
One.
my god!
Just saying.
Oh yes, I mean, I played that and I was on the edge because I played it after finishing The Last of Us, and I was just like, "Oh my god, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?" I was just expecting something bad. I mean, and of course it did, but it was ultimately such a joyful story, and that's like again, what I love those when we can get characters within a bigger fantasy world or a bigger genre world, and then just have them in within their own within a story that's driven by themselves rather than really the bigger machinations of the world. And I really love that DLC, Left Behind, for that reason. And then I also just like really love Abby as a character who is more masculine presenting, you know, with her muscles and her the way that she we would code her as masculine, the way that she her personality and how she interacts with people in the world. And I just love that. I don't know if I lost my point.
Oh, I got to the point
But
where I was grudgingly accepting of Abby.
yes.
They never quite convinced me to dislike Elle, and they
Mm-hmm.
tried really hard. I'm like, nope, I
Yes.
can't. I've loved her since
No.
she was little.
Same
Doesn't
way.
matter what she does. They all
I
deserve to die.
it's just I love that. It's just I think the main thing that I take away from that, well, for me, the story wasn't even about revenge and the lengths that you would go, but like the way that we as people don't say what we really mean to the people that we love. You know, and the kind of regret that comes from that. And I felt like for me, that was kind of like the theme of the story that got on. And it was like just really interesting that, like, of course I love Ellie. I've been with Ellie for these last few years. I'm so close to her, and I can't ever shame her or um deride her for her decisions, even though it's painful. By the time you get to the last fight with her and Abby, I'm just like, Ellie, can we go? I don't want to do this. Like, not even that I like Abby now and I'm rooting for her. It's just like, I don't want you to put yourself through this like painful situation. And I think that's like an amazing, for me, like a amazing moment of storytelling. It's like, we are with you. We may be supporting you, but it's taking something from me. And isn't that the goal of any story?
It was definitely deeply moving. It's an incredible game. I would never say anything bad about the production. I love Ellie still as a character, but a fatal-ish flaw for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll run this by you, and then you tell me why no, I'm
Okay.
crazy. And an esteemed audience will learn about story, hopefully somewhere in there, or they'll just nerd out with us. One of those two things. But the point where Abby comes back, especially when we get, because I was ready to, all right, Elle's reached her final penultimate revenge stage. It's about time to plug in my controller and call it a day. And they're like, nope, you're going to play Abby's backstory. Oh my God, this game is crazy long. But at
Yes.
that moment where she comes in, and now that we've played her whole backstory, and we play that moment again where she's killed everybody to protect Lev, and
Mm-hmm.
she's become a metaphorical Joel, which isn't that, rich and ironic and all that good stuff. But I don't buy that she doesn't kill Ellie in the theater. The only reason that she doesn't kill her at that moment, because she's a clear and present threat to Lev,
Mm-hmm.
who she's just killed her own people to protect. There's no way she does, while I'm here, let me make sure that I never see you coming again, which, by the way, we know by the end of the game would have been the right move. Ellie's coming back. So I don't, that was the one moment where I feel like, this isn't a character choice. This is the plot, and it's necessary. And did I have fun? Yes. Was it all kinds of wonderful and enjoyable? And did I love the rat zombie where they fight all through the fight? Yes, I
Oh my
did.
God, that part was
So I
just
can't say that much bad. It's not a game breaking thing, but it is a pet
yes.
peeve.
I think about, I actually haven't really thought about that moment as much as the moment where, like, would Ellie just leave the tranquility that she's made with Dina at the farmhouse and just go? I'm like, at that point I was like, this game is really long. Like, I don't know, we could have ended it here, right? But that moment is actually really interesting, and I haven't really thought about, that. To me, at that, I've just always been thinking like, okay, maybe she just realized that, what's that point of this? Like, we've all lost enough. But then again, she's lost so much at that point. It's like, why not? She did all of that, but that's like, I haven't really thought about that. And I didn't like going to that, like, that it was just like, oh, Dina's pregnant, so Mel died and she was pregnant, so I don't know. I just really, after reading so many thrillers in the adult space, that's like, you know, Gone Girl and kind of those type of things, it's just like women and pregnancy and like is always, it's been used as such a weird story element of like the penultimate, like, do like, oh, people can never really step over this line, or it's like if the loss of a child will make them like go, you know, like lose all their boundaries and have a psychotic breakdown, and then like, you know, torment their ex-husband for the rest of their lives. I don't know. So I felt like, yes, sorry, all that to say, I do feel like it needed a little bit more for me in that moment, but I like that Abby from the very beginning was very specific on who she felt deserved punishment for their deeds and who should be spared, because she already initially spared Ellie and Tommy going after Joel in the beginning, and then there it's like she had to go through all of that.
Well, sparing them at first made sense because she was just on the revenge quest for Joel. That was all she wanted, was to hurt him. But then later, when she goes, you know, totally Joel crazy, killing everybody to protect Lev, that's a different state of mind.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because at that moment, she's found out all her friends are dead. Wouldn't you be in like this is good. I'm going to think about this, Rob. I'm going to get back to you. I'm going to have to think about that.
Well, I have to fully acknowledge that this is like having the most wonderful dinner served up ever and then complaining that I don't like the color of the napkin at the end of it. But it is a little thing that bothered me about an otherwise wonderful game.
Yeah, I mean, it's always like, even if you love a story or you love a movie or you love a book, you know, you can always have critiques. They're not mutually exclusive, right?